Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to a special online event today called Discover True Healing Beyond an NDE with Anita Moorjani. 3 keys to transform fear, stress, and illness into a life of purpose and vibrant health. My name is Stephen Dinan. I'm the founder and CEO of the Shift Network, and I'm delighted to be here today with one of our favorite faculty and teachers and allies, Anita Moorjani, who really was propelled onto a remarkable path of teaching a new way of being, really, that is about connecting and embodying our soul. And she came out of a really dramatic near-death experience that we'll be hearing some about today. And this has a lot of repercussions for how we live better on this planet. And we recently did a 5-week program with Anita, got rave results, had over 1,000 people in there. Really remarkable transmission of deep truth that she is here to embody post NDE and that she's been sharing around the world. So with that said, welcome Anita to today's program.
Thank you so much for having me here. I am actually really thrilled and excited to be back.
Well, Anita, we're going to have this hour with you, Anita, and I know you're going to be sharing some really powerful truth and insights with us. And I also want to let everybody know way up front that we're going to have a chance to go much deeper in an advanced program that builds on the last. And we're going to share a little bit about that towards the end of our time together. So, Anita, I think you probably have had to do this 100 times, but it's so powerful to hear your story of your near-death experience, and it really is the foundation for so much of what you're teaching. So could you start us a little bit on where you were before you had the near-death experience, and what you experienced that led to such a profound shift of worldview and healing for you?
Yes, so I was diagnosed with cancer. I had lymphoma, and I struggled with it for 4 years before I had the near-death experience. And over the period of 4 years, I tried so many different healing modalities, and it felt as though nothing was working. And I was so fearful of the cancer, fearful of the treatments, fearful of death. I was just fearful of all of it. And so as I struggled with it, the disease metastasized and spread all over my lymphatic system. So I reached a point where I had tumors, many of them the size of golf balls, from the base of my skull, all around my neck, under my arms, in my chest, and all the way down to my abdomen. But by that point, my body stopped absorbing nutrition. So I weighed about 85 pounds. I wasn't able to walk because my muscles had completely deteriorated. My lungs were filled with fluid, so if I lied down, I would choke on my own fluid. I was connected to oxygen all the time, and I was in so much pain and so much fear and so much discomfort. And this was in February of 2006 that I had reached this point. And on February the 2nd, on the morning of February the 2nd, I went into a coma. I basically didn't wake up, and my organs had shut down. My kidneys were shutting down, and my organs were shutting down one by one. And the doctors told my family that these were my final hours. They told my family that I was not coming out of the coma, and that basically to inform any family members that these were my final hours. So I was lying there on the hospital bed surrounded by my family members. However, unbeknownst to everybody around me, even though my physical body was in the coma and my eyes were closed, I was actually no longer in my body. And I was aware of everything that was happening around me. I was aware of what the doctors were doing, what they were saying to my family. I was aware that my family was distraught. And I felt myself, though, drifting further and further away from that scenario that was going on in the hospital. And as I drifted further away, I kind of became more detached to the emotions involved. But the way that I felt, interestingly, was all the pain was gone, all the pain from dealing with 4 years of the lymphoma, all the fear was gone, all the fear of death and the fear of the chemo and the fear of the treatments was all gone. The discomfort, all of it was gone. That inability to breathe, that heaviness, everything was gone. I felt really light and really free. And I felt as though I was enveloped in a feeling that I call divine love, just absolute unconditional divine love. And I knew that even though my family were distraught, I knew that in the end, they would still be okay because one day we would be together again. I started to become aware that I was dying. And even though I didn't want them to be distraught, I knew that we would be together again. But I felt amazing. As I continued in that, I call it that realm, as I continued in that realm, I encountered the essence of my dad who had passed away 10 years prior. And a lot happened on the other side, but the main thing was my dad and I had a turbulent relationship when I was growing up. And when he had passed away, I had actually felt really guilty that I'd never been the perfect daughter for him. And on this side, though, what I realized is that when we cross over, we don't just leave behind our physical bodies. We leave behind our gender, our culture, our beliefs, our religion, our race. We leave all of that behind. And so what crosses over is our pure essence. And your pure essence is literally, it's pure love or pure God, or we can call it whatever we want. And so what I experienced when I encountered my dad was his pure essence. And so there was his pure essence and my pure essence. And his essence was vibrant, and his essence was young and happy and lively, not like when he passed away. And all I felt from him was pure, unconditional love. There was no judgment at all for anything that I had done while he was alive, the turbulence that we had been through together with each other. There was no judgment whatsoever. It was like he understood me. Because we were just two pure essences, there was no room for miscommunication, and he understood me. The thing is, as I continued in that realm, I reached a point where I realized that if I went any further, I wouldn't be able to turn back. That if I went any further, that was it. I wouldn't be able to go back into my physical body. Now, no part of me wanted to go into my physical body anyway, because who would want to go back into a sick body that was dying and full of fear? I wanted to keep going. But it was my dad that stopped me, and he said that my purpose hasn't been completed yet. And he wanted me to know that I still had gifts waiting for me on this side. And I started to understand that my husband's and my purpose was linked. And if I didn't go back, he wouldn't be able to complete his purpose either. And also, in that state, I also experienced a tremendous amount of clarity where I understood why I had the cancer. I understood how my decisions, my thoughts had contributed to me lying on that hospital bed that day, dying. And I knew that with that clarity and the clarity my dad was giving me that I had to go back, I knew that now that I knew the truth, that if I went back, that my body would heal very, very quickly. The other thing I want to add is while I was on that realm, I felt incredibly powerful and magnificent. And it felt like I was so much more powerful than I had ever been led to believe. And to me, it was like, why is this such a well-kept secret? If only I knew how powerful I was before, I would never have got the cancer. That's what I was feeling on the other side. And so anyway, with that knowing, my dad said to me, now that you know this truth, go back and live your life fearlessly. That's when I started to come out of the coma. And I shocked everybody around me because within a day or two, I was taking off the tubes for the oxygen. I was taking off the nutrition tubes. I wanted to sit up. Within 4 days, I was like talking to everyone, and I was telling them the things that I saw that was happening when I was in the coma. And that's what convinced them that something had happened. I was able to tell them which doctor had done what and who had put needles into my back to drain fluid from my chest. And so I was able to actually identify the different people that had been coming into the room and said, this was the doctor that did this, and he did it at 4 a.m. in the morning, and that blew them away. So anyway, within 4 days, my tumors had shrunk by about 60, 70%. In 3.5 weeks after coming out of the coma, they couldn't find any trace of cancer. The doctors were dumbfounded. They didn't know what to write in my medical records. They found it hard to believe. So they kept on testing me and giving me drugs even after they couldn't find any trace of cancer. But after 5 weeks, they've released me to go home and live my life cancer-free. And that was on March the 9th, 2006. And here I am.
Wow. What an incredible story. I mean, you gave me chills several times sharing it. And it's really just beautiful how much can happen in an experience like that. The shedding of old identities, the experiencing of your full power, the healing of a relationship, and really kind of the ignition of a new recognition of who you are and what you're capable of. And the proof in the pudding of being able to like just completely heal your body from that point forward. It's remarkable because it sounds like before you had that experience, you were trying quite hard to do this healing and probably trying a lot of different methods. So outside of having a near-death experience, how do we tap into that level of consciousness that becomes such a powerful healing catalyst for everything else to flow through and in alignment in our life?
So one of the main elements that I experienced, what I realized, was that I had never valued or loved myself. And I know that sounds really, it almost sounds like, oh, self-love. It's like such a new age idea. But the truth is, here's what I realized. Self-love isn't something that's superficial or selfish. It isn't something where you just kind of take yourself for a massage. I realized it was something much, much bigger than that. I was somebody who was a people pleaser and a doormat my entire life. And when you're a people pleaser, when you're a doormat, when you worry about what everyone else thinks, also what didn't help, what contributed to my situation is the culture and background that I'm from. My parents are Indian, where there is a lot of gender disparity, and a woman's value or a woman's worth is only measured by how valuable she is to the men in her life. So things like that had always made me small. It had always made me doubt myself. It had always made me give my power away to the people outside of me. What I realized was I was as powerful as anyone else. I was as powerful as anyone else who I thought was super powerful. We all have access to the same power. That was the big wake-up call for me on the other side. And how do we access that power? By realizing we have it. To me, I use the word self-love, because when you don't love yourself, you deny that power from expressing itself through you. The more you love yourself, the more that power is able to express itself through you. And to me, that is so important. Self-love isn't about just looking in the mirror and affirming to yourself that I am beautiful, I love myself, whatever. It's not that. So the way I explain it to people is that if you imagine, if you think of an iceberg, when you look at an iceberg, all you see is the tip of the iceberg. And when you take a photo of an iceberg, all you get is the tip. But we read and hear and know that the tip of the iceberg, what is above the water, is only 10% of the whole iceberg. 90% of the iceberg is submerged. So 90% of the iceberg is way bigger than what you can see. It's the same with our physical bodies, and that's what I learned. I learned that this physical body is only a small percentage of who we really are. Who we really are is non-physical. There is so much more of us that we can't see. We have the rest of the iceberg. We can call it our soul, our essence. It's our connection to the all that is, or our connection to God. And we all have it. There's nobody that's been denied this. The only difference is some people realize it and some don't. That's the only difference. And so loving yourself means loving the whole you, including your soul, and discovering who you are and what is your purpose, and not giving your power away to those outside of you, but instead tapping in to your own iceberg or your own soul to discover your own purpose without constantly trying to be what everyone else wants you to be. That was the biggest lesson I learned that really healed me.
It's interesting. So what I'm partially hearing from you is that so often we think of self-love, we're thinking of our small self, the tip of the iceberg, and we're trying to love that, reinforce that, take good care of that. But it's like until we're connected to the larger portion of our being, that it's like it's always going to just come up short in terms of actually creating that field of possibility for us.
Yes, exactly. And so if I were to give someone 3 keys for living a healthier, happier, more joyful life, the 3 keys would be, number 1 would be the self-love, which includes loving the whole iceberg. And self-love means allowing that your divine self to express itself through you. You know, you take care of your body, not just, so in the past, I used to fear the illness and feel I had to do everything I could to get rid of the illness. But actually, I would say shift that focus. It's not because you fear the illness. It's not because you have to get rid of the illness at all costs, but instead love yourself and love your body, because it is a vehicle for yourself to express itself through you. So love yourself, but take care of your body. And so the paradigm, the medical paradigm of being illness focused doesn't actually work, or that's what didn't work for me, being illness focused, because being illness focused actually put my focus on the illness and in fact made me feel even more fear. And when you're in fear, you're actually suppressing your immune system. And so this is what I kind of address. But anyway, in a nutshell, the key number 1 would be this self-love, so that you are more love-focused as opposed to fear-focused. If you're going through a health challenge, you take care of your body because you love it, not because you fear the illness. You listen to your body to see what is it trying to tell you. So number 1 is self-love, in that loving the whole iceberg. Number 2 would be develop your intuition. And this is really important. But how do you develop your intuition, which is what people ask me. So the reason why many of us, our intuition is weak, is because we live in a world where we are immersed in fear. Fear is a denser energy, and your intuition finds it hard to communicate with you when you are in fear, when you are in stress, when you are in anger. These kinds of things kind of block your intuition. So the thing to do is to actually alleviate those kinds of emotions and try and get into a space of joy, a space of peace, a space of acceptance. Those kinds of emotions allow you to develop your intuition. Also, our intuition is very, very powerful when you allow it, because we are all connected. We're connected to the same source. So when you develop your intuition, you're picking up on things and you don't know where it's coming from. Like you meet the right person at the right time. People always tell me that, this is all, like I can't do this stuff because I got to go to work in a job that takes up all my time, and I have bills to pay. But my point is, that if you loved yourself and you developed your intuition, you would meet the right people at the right time to give you different opportunities that are more in line with who you are. So number 2 is develop your intuition. Number 3
So
is
just to
always,
kind of make a
yes.
finer point on that. So is it part of what happens is what you're saying is that like when we identify with too small a portion of ourselves, then there's a natural cutting off of intuition, because that's actually, in a way, it's almost like the bloodstream from the bigger self coming into us.
Yes, that's a very good point, and that's exactly it. And so when you don't recognize that there's more of you than just the physical body, then you are cutting off that bloodstream. And this is why we feel fear and stress, because we are so focused on just the physical. We don't allow the bigger picture to express itself through us. And so I like that. I like the way you said that. And point number 3 is, and this helps also to developing intuition. Point number 3 is to always undo first before doing more. And let me explain what I mean by that. Because we're constantly living in fear and stress and so on, whenever anything comes up, whenever we have a problem, whenever we have a diagnosis, the first thing we do is, what can I do? What can I learn more? What can I research? What do I need to do? What do I need to buy? I always tell people, take a deep breath and start undoing, because the reason you're having this problem is because you've cut off the circulation to your intuition, because you have taken on too much. There is too much going on. You can't sense your intuition. So we have to do the opposite. We have to, instead of saying, what do I do? What do I do? It's more like, what can I let go of? What am I doing that is not mine? What am I doing that's stressing me out, which I can stop doing? So we have to do the opposite. And this seems to run counter to what many of us automatically reach for. But when we can do that, we gain so much more clarity. It's the clarity that I experienced in the other realm, because everything had been let go and left behind. And so this is what I always suggest to people. Let go of as much as you can before taking on new things, because then once you've done all the undoing and the clearing and letting go of the dramas that are not yours, letting go of relationships that have been really not good for you and draining for you, and start letting go and undoing, then you're in this clear space of intuition. Then your intuition guides you as to what you need to do next.
Nice. But I guess it also makes sense that so much of the over-identification with our physical self is a kind of a doing or a kind of glomming on. And so that as we undo all those patterns, that we're naturally breathe into a bigger being that we are.
Yes, exactly. We breathe into this bigger being. We allow the magnificence of our true essence to come through us, because there's space for it to come through. We become like a clearer channel, a clearer vessel. And I sometimes liken it to the Marie Kondo of spirituality. In other words, Marie Kondo always says, clear your house. I always say, clear your emotions, clear your dramas, clear yourself.
That's nice. And then only keep the things that bring you joy.
Exactly. Keep the things that bring you joy. Exactly right.
And beautiful. Well, let's talk about this, the connection here with healing. So it makes sense in a kind of almost like just a spiritual teaching element of opening to more and more possibility and our higher self moving through. How does this actually, if we're taking our focus away from illness or away from the disturbances, how does that actually then lead to their healing and clearing?
So I actually like to encourage people to look at healing very differently, in that I invite them not to focus on the illness itself. And so what we do is we tend to focus on the trajectory of their wellness. So wherever they are at this point in their health, the idea is to take them from here to optimum wellness. So we don't focus on the illness. So our medical paradigm seems to be focused on the disease and on trying to eradicate disease. I like to take them from where they are now to optimum wellness. So our focus is always on the optimum wellness. But then we talk about what does optimum wellness look like for you? Because when you are healthy, you don't focus on your health. That's what we want to do. You focus on your life when you're healthy. You don't even think about your health. That's what I encourage them to do while they are on their path to health, so that they have something to look forward to. They have a reason to live. They are starting to find that joy and that lightness in their life. That's really important. And that's how we move step by step to full health, because what a lot of people don't realize is that sometimes our illness is there to give us some kind of other secondary gain, some kind of attention that we want or that we're unable to get for ourselves, maybe because we are a people pleaser and we're not able to get our needs met. And so all of these things get explored so that you can heal all those as you walk towards optimum health, creating a life that you want to live, living your purpose, living your joy. So the focus is always on that, as opposed to eradicating illness. And if you like, I have sorry, go ahead.
No, if you go ahead.
I was just going to say that I have a little process or journey that I could take you on, but go ahead. I'll take your question.
I think it's a perfect time to go on it. Let's do it.
Okay, so what we'll be doing is we'll be hearing some music, and I would like everybody to just relax and to close your eyes and feel your muscles just melting away the stresses. The stress is just falling away, and feel your neck and your head just completely relaxing, and your jaw.
Very beautiful. Well, it's great to just kind of ride along with your voice too, since it's clear that you reside in this much more spacious place now.
I think I do. In fact, I feel uncomfortable when I'm out of it, and that what I've started to realize is that the contrast between the life I had before was that now I can feel it the minute that I'm out of that space. And so often when people say to me, "Do you meditate?" and I say no. In fact, I encourage people to live a life where their life is a meditation, so they don't need to take time out to meditate.
Nice. That's great. I think that's got to be the goal of any meditation, is that it's no longer something that just happens a few minutes a day or half an hour a day. It's all the time. Well, let's talk about some of the other areas that we said we would mention today too. So compassion and empathy is something that you speak quite a lot about, and how they're important in the healing journey as well. So how does that connect with some of the rest of what you've been sharing about self-love?
So one of the things that I realized, and I knew nothing about this before, I realized that I was an empath, or am. I think when you are, you can't change that. And because I didn't know it, I thought there was something wrong with me, and I didn't know how to nurture that part of me or to take care of it or honor it. And so I only learned it after I came back from the near-death experience, and I realized, oh, not everybody feels that way. In other words, everything that I felt prior to the NDE, a huge portion of it at least, was because I am an empath. And when you're an empath, what that means is that you feel what other people are feeling. You feel other people's emotions. Because I could feel what other people were feeling, it was really important to me that everyone who was around me felt good. Because if they didn't feel good, I didn't feel good. And so I was always running around pleasing everybody. And that's what made me a people pleaser. And I never wanted to disappoint anyone, including my own parents and my family members. And if people were disappointed or angry or annoyed or upset at me, it wasn't just something you feel with your emotions or just knowledge. No, sensitive people feel it with their emotions. They can tell if someone's annoyed. An empath feels it physically in their body. It actually does things to your body, like it increases your blood pressure. It slows down your immune system. It actually does things to you physically. So that's the difference between an empath and just being a super sensitive person. And I did not know this before. This was all something that I started to realize when I was in the near-death experience. I realized that I was different, that I was super sensitive. When I say I'm different, it doesn't make me special or better, because there are a lot of people who relate to what I say. There are a lot of empaths out there, and many of them don't even know what it is or don't even know that they are one. So that is, and so I actually believe that empaths, because they feel things in their body, and if they don't know that they are an empath, they don't know that the feelings they're feeling have come from someone else. So it's come because somebody has said something or done something, and they think it's their own stuff. And so empaths, I feel, are actually more prone to even taking on illnesses. And if I have a moment, I just wanted to share one other story, is that when I was, before I even was diagnosed with the cancer, my best friend was diagnosed. And believe it or not, today I don't even like to use the word cancer, but I do use it for the sake of people who need to understand what it is I'm trying to say. But my best friend was diagnosed, and she was really, really sick. Like, her illness was very, very aggressive. And I was there with her, and I was really fearful about what was happening to her. But I was feeling it within me, and I didn't understand this. And I was feeling it as if I was going through it. And I felt so guilty because if I wasn't with her. So if I went away and did something on my own that was fun, I would feel guilty for having fun while she was so sick and dealing with this aggressive illness. So I would spend all my time with her. Even when I was tired and drained, I just couldn't tear myself away from her, because it just made me feel really guilty, really bad. And then one day, I found a lump on my neck, and it was diagnosed as lymphoma. And the funny thing is, even though that first emotion was fear because it was cancer, the second emotion was, now I get to take care of myself. So in other words, I needed a reason that big to be able to take care of myself, instead of constantly feeling like I had to be there for other people. So the thing about empaths is they are, many of them are unable to be there for themselves. And so that's why I address that, because even when they're sick, even when their body is crying out for help, they're not able to be there for themselves. They still put other people before them.
So there's a way in which part of the healing process really also becomes a lot about getting clear about both the blessings and sometimes the things you have to protect against as around empathy or compassion, like to be able to disentangle from some of the other people's energy fields. It sounds like that's also really essential as well.
Yes, that is extremely essential, to have the right tools to disentangle your emotions from other people's emotions. And also, with the right tools, you're able to identify that the people that you're entangled with, it's not that they're toxic people, but it's just that you are an empath, and so you have a tendency to get entangled with them. And so it's about taking your power back, taking your emotions back. And you don't have to make anyone a bad person for having affected you, but it's about recognizing it, identifying it, and then being able to extricate yourself, your emotions, from other people's emotions. And a lot of people who are empaths tend to feel that it's a handicap, it's a curse, but it's actually when you recognize what it is and when you use it correctly, it's a gift. It truly is, because people who are empaths are also more intuitive. they have a tendency to be more intuitive. But the downside of being an empath is that we don't listen to our intuition, because for us, it's more important to please everyone else and listen to what everyone else says. So this is what we have to be aware of. These are the kinds of things that an empath needs to be aware of, is that they need to know your intuition is strong. So stop giving your power away to other people. And usually their instinct is to give their power away.
So I think that just about anybody who's listening to this can hear the deep truth and the power, and just there's a kind of a settled, grounded truth in everything you're sharing. But it might be difficult sometimes, if we haven't had a dramatic experience like that, to make that pivot to that open, spacious identity. So is there anything you can share about just practices that help to, you said something about undoing, so that you're kind of unraveling and letting go of different things, or other practices you find that are really helpful to move into that expanded identity as your baseline reality?
Yes, of course. So first of all, I do want to assure people that you don't have to have a near-death experience or anything as dramatic as what I went through. The reason I share what I share is because if I knew then what I know now, I believe I would not even have had the illness. I wouldn't have needed the near-death experience. And so I share it because it is truly possible. And in fact, it should be the norm for us to actually love and honor ourselves and to allow ourselves to be who we are. So some of the tools that I would suggest. So number one is, if you've identified with what I've said, if you feel you are an empath who has a tendency to be a people pleaser or a doormat, or if you are someone who doesn't know how to love themselves. So some of the key tools I would say is, ask yourself this question: what have I taken on that is not mine? That's the first question to ask yourself, and evaluate everything in your life. What have I taken on that is not mine? Because again, you have a tendency to rescue people who don't need rescuing. So, and then the second question to ask yourself is, what have I said yes to that I should have said no to? And be honest with yourself. Recently, all the things that you've agreed to do, be honest with yourself and ask yourself, are these things, so everything that you've said yes to, are these things that I chose to do because I want to do them, because they give me pleasure? Or are these things I am doing because I don't want to displease the other? And that's where you have to get really honest. Am I doing this because it brings me joy and pleasure? Or is it because it's what they want me to do and they want it out of me? And it's very important to make this distinction, because empaths believe that I have to please other people in order to be a good, kind person. But in actuality, if you are an empath, if you are a people pleaser, if you're a doormat, if you're someone who's never learned to love themselves, you are somebody who by nature is going to be pleasing people. You are never going to hurt people deliberately. It's just not in your DNA. It's who you are, is someone who would never take advantage of someone. Your default is to help people. Your weakness is in not being able to help yourself. So that's where your focus needs to be. Your focus does not need to be on doing things that are good for others, because that is who you are, and you will do it anyway. Even when you start doing things for yourself and you see your life changing and you see yourself becoming happier, healthier, more abundant, your default will be to share that joy, that abundance, whatever it is, with everyone else around you. That's who you are. That's how you get your joy. But if you don't put your focus, your conscious focus, on loving and taking care of yourself and your needs and doing things that bring you joy, then you become depleted. And then you're unable to do what it is that you really want to do, which is to help others and be of service. So that's what I would want.
I love it. It's like, I love it when you just step through and just whoosh, there's this powerful channel of truth that opens up and just helps to clear away all of the false ideas and limitations. Really beautiful. Well, Anita, we can keep going in a lot of different areas, and I want to spend a little time talking about your upcoming program, since we really are most committed at the Shift Network to creating lasting transformation. We want you to shift into a new pattern of being that is rooted in your soul, expanded in your big self, that's clear, that's not stuck in old cycles. And Anita is a powerful truth teller and guide and healer for us to do so. So we're very excited that she's agreed to do a program with us. It's called Reimagine Healing with Anita Moorjani. 7 steps to transform fear, stress, and illness into a life of purpose and vibrant health. So you can see this program laid out at reimaginehealingadvanced.com. That's reimaginehealingadvanced.com. That really is about, it's an up-leveling of where you come from, not just how you show up in the world, but what is the level of your being that you are operating from. So Anita, I'd love for you to share in your own words what people will get by taking this journey with you, and go from there.
So people will have, they will have a renewed energy, renewed lease of life, particularly if they are people who don't know how to love themselves, or people who are empaths, people who are people pleasers, and those who are also going through physical diagnosis as a result of all this, people who are drained, tired. They will find a whole new way of dealing with the world where they will have more energy, and they will be able to use this energy this energy will actually be directed towards more healing. They will find that they will become more intuitive, and attract more abundance and make better choices from a more intuitive space. And once they are in touch with their intuition, and once they make the better choices from this more intuitive space, then a lot of things start to unravel and unfold. There will be more clarity, and just more space for them to live their lives from a place of joy. That's really what I would like to offer. And this, I guess, this so much to this also helps in terms of it'll help in terms of relationships, because you can't love other people unless you love yourself. I mean, we believe we can. We believe that we have to love everyone else, but it's selfish to love ourselves. But actually, what happens is that when you don't love yourself, you become very, very needy. But when you do love yourself, the offering of yourself is of a much higher frequency, and we teach other people how to treat us. So when you love yourself more, you teach other people to treat you better. So you do end up with better relationships as a result as well. So it really is about better relationships, better health, better intuition, more abundance.
Beautiful. Well, again, the URL for this is reimaginehealingadvanced.com, reimaginehealingadvanced.com. And I should mention that this course does build upon the previous course. So if you're coming new to this call, or were not part of the previous course, you get access to the full first program with your registration as well. So we're bundling both courses together. If you are coming to this call from the first program, then you have a special link to register so that they're unbundled. And then you're not paying for both. So so the idea is that we're really going to get the best of Anita's transmission from the first program, and then we're going to be able to build on that. The first program was called Transforming Your Life Through Near-Death Experiences, Journeys to Expand Your Intuition, Deepen Healing, and Unveil Your Life Purpose. So that was a 5-module foundational program. There's a lot of key teachings and practices and insights, and this one builds upon that and goes further. So when you sign up, you can go through the first program and build upon this. Anita, I wonder if you could take us on a little tour of the modules, if you have them in front, or I can speak them out loud if you want.
Sure, I've got them in front of me, so I'm happy to go through them one by one. So Module 1 is Reimagining Health and Well-Being, and this one is to really help you to think of your health and well-being in a completely different way that runs totally counter to what the medical paradigm has us believing that our health and well-being is. And you will find that it's a radically new and different way to look at health and well-being. And it doesn't matter whether you are going through a diagnosis yourself, or you're caring for someone who is, or you're not and you just maybe fear a future diagnosis, or if you are a healer, health caregiver, practitioner, it would apply to any of those. So it really is about reimagining health and well-being, which is completely different from how you've probably been led to believe it is. Module 2 is the transformative power of self-love, which is a little bit about what I spoke about earlier, where we will really get into understanding self-love as in understanding loving our whole self, loving the whole iceberg. What does that mean? What does that look like? How do we get to know who we are? How do we accept the soul's purpose? So in the transformative power of self-love, it helps you even with finding your purpose. So once you've got the self-love, Module 3 opens you up to intuition. Now, I want to say here that the more you love yourself, the more your intuition comes through, because you also trust your intuition more. You trust your intuition more than what other people are telling you. So we transition straight into intuition. When your intuition is stronger, it transforms fear, anxiety, and stress. So Module 3 is about intuition and the tools to transform fear, anxiety, and stress. I see all of that as linked, because when your intuition is strong, your fear, anxiety, and stresses go down in direct proportion.
And on March 31st, we will have our first live Q&A session with Anita. In this session, you'll have the opportunity to join Anita live and ask your questions about the first part of the course.
Module 4, I'm really excited about, because Module 4 we've called Conversation with Dr. Brian Walker. Dr. Brian Walker was my doctor prior to the NDE, and he was there with me all the way through my illness, and he was there when I came out of the coma. He has agreed to come on this course on one of the modules as a guest to speak to you about how his views changed and how his views of medicine changed after he saw what I went through. Has really radically transformed the way he practices medicine, and it's no longer anything like the way it was before because of what happened. Module 5 is about healing yourself and others. So this one is truly focused on healing. It's focused on how to rise above the fear if you are dealing with a diagnosis. This one also, and in fact all of them are helpful if you are a healer, a teacher, a practitioner. This will help you also in dealing with the people you work with. And so it's about your own energy, increasing your energy, and how to utilize your energy for healing. Module 6 is how to care for yourself as an empath or sensitive person. So this one really is about the tools of caring for yourself and extricating your emotions from those of others, which you may have inadvertently got drawn into. And we give you tools on how to do that.
And on April 21st, join Anita for the second live Q&A session.
Module 7 is nurturing self-care and self-compassion. So this is really just about taking care of the whole you again, but it's like coming full circle. What you will learn is that when you're an empath, when you're a sensitive person, you're always being drawn to go out and heal the world. You're always being drawn whenever there's any bad news or something happening. It's like, I got to go out there and fix this. I got to help this. I got to advocate for this. That's the natural thing that empaths and people who are super compassionate and all do. But the problem is, the world is made up of individual people. The world is made up of individuals. When you have a sick world with all this stuff going on, and you're being told that this is when the mass media is telling you all this stuff going on and making you believe that we have a very sick world. A sick world is a world made up of sick individuals. In order to heal the world, each of us have to heal as an individual. In other words, if every individual healed themselves, we would have a healed world. So what you have to do is heal yourself first. And this is what we're going to talk about, how important it is for you to care for yourself, particularly if you are somebody that is trying to heal the world, trying to heal other people. If you're someone that's constantly drawn to going out and advocating for the world, it's like heal yourself and then you can heal the world. Because when you heal yourself, you inspire other individuals to heal themselves, because you come from a place of inspiration. Each individual heals themselves, and a world of healed individuals is a healed world. So it's full circle. It starts with self, and we finish with healing the world.
And finally, on May 5th, we'll have the third and final Q&A session with Anita. This will be a time to connect with Anita to ask any lingering question about the course.
Beautiful. Well, it's really clear in hearing you talk about it, just how much this is really a deep expression and offering from your soul to everybody who chooses to join you on this journey. So I'll share a few more things. Again, you can find the details at reimaginehealingadvanced.com, reimaginehealingadvanced.com.
The 7-module course with 3 live Q&As will start on March 17th. The pre-recorded modules will be released on Tuesdays, and the 3 live Q&A sessions will take place on Tuesdays at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Even if you can't attend the live Q&A sessions, you can still submit your questions ahead of time, and you'll get the full value from the Q&A recordings. So you get not only the 7 90-minute pre-recorded modules, which you can watch and review at a pace that best suits your schedule, you'll also have the chance to connect live with Anita during the 3 live Q&A sessions throughout the course. You'll also receive word-for-word transcripts of all 7 pre-recorded modules to work with and highlight. There's weekly practices for home and an online community group to help support you and deepen your experience. There are a number of extra bonuses that will enhance your journey, which you can see on the page at reimaginehealingadvanced.com.
There's a video teaching from Anita called I Love My Ego, in the vein of this self-love, where you're expanding our sense of what we can love about ourselves, really everything, and expand our sense of identity as well. And then a video teaching from Anita on the other side is I don't know how to love me. I don't know, Anita, you want to share anything about that particular video that's a bonus?
So most people, they don't know how to love themselves. And in that video, to kickstart, I do give you some tips right there on how to get started on what it means to love yourself and how to love yourself. So there's some basic tips in there, which I think would be really helpful.
We also have an audio from Wendy DeRosa, one of our most popular empath intuitive teachers at the Shift Network. It's called Are You an Empath? How to Stop Taking on the Energy of Others. Really specific practices working with your chakras and energy system so that you don't take on other people's energy. And as I mentioned before, if you're new to Anita and weren't just graduating from her last program, then you get the full first program, which we had 1,200 people go through, I believe, and it was really quite a success and very powerful for people. And that's called Transforming Your Life Through Near-Death Experiences, Journeys to Expand Your Intuition, Deepen Healing, and Unveil Your Life Purpose.
We've kept the investment really accessible. It's just 3 payments of $200, or you can save about 10% when you pay in full with 1 payment of $547.
So Anita, this extra bonus, True Healing and How to Create It, which I think is very relevant and important for all of us. I wonder if you could share a little bit about that bonus that people get when they register by midnight tonight.
So in that, I speak about how to embrace love in a fear-based world, because I felt it was relevant to the time that we're going through right now, because so many people are living in fear. And it's not just fear of everything that's happening in the world, but also we seem to fear everything, including illness. And even when we go to see a doctor or in a hospital, our diagnoses are usually fear-based. That's the first thing we hear is, what is the prognosis? What is the diagnosis? And so in that video, I help people to reframe the fear so that we can look at it. Again, it's like reimagining fear this time, and turning it into love. And so that once you eliminate the fear, it becomes so much easier to deal with the issues that are in front of you.
Well, thank you for that. So that's the extra bonus that you get when you sign up today. And there's really no risk in doing so, since there's a money back guarantee of your satisfaction. So I encourage you, if you're at home right now, go to the page at reimaginehealingadvance.com, tune in with yourself. And if you just get even a little nibble of interest, you just go for it, because you really is something we guarantee you're going to be satisfied with. So again, you can find all the details at reimaginehealingadvanced.com. And when you get signed up by midnight tonight, you get the special bonus. So Anita, I know you're just super inspiring. You're a great truth teller and speak with a lot of heart and integrity, and really fun to be with, and inspiring the story. Your personal story is so inspiring of what's possible as well. So just in the final minute or so, any closing thoughts that you want to share with people who are considering going further on this journey with you?
Well, one of the things I wanted to share is that, when I first came back from the other side, from the near-death experience, the first thing I wanted to know is, why did I have to die to find this out? And that really bothered me. And then I realized that in actuality, we were all born knowing this, but it was conditioned out of us. We were born knowing that we're supposed to live a life of joy and a life of fun and all of these things. And yet all of this got conditioned out of us, and we started becoming more fear-based, stress-based, and so on. And so I like to remind people of who they really are and how powerful they really are. I like to remind people that life has to be fun, and don't take life so seriously. And that's why I really think that everybody deserves to know this, which is why I've made it my personal mission, if you will, to really share it and share this in so many ways. And I'm really passionate about this. And so I really look forward to seeing you guys on this. I think everybody deserves to know this.
Well, thank you so much, Anita. You are a blessing for us all. And if people want to go further with you, again, you can do so for the Reimagine Healing with Anita Moorjani program at reimaginehealingadvance.com. And you get the special bonus when you sign up by the end of the day, and that is the true healing and how to create it. So thank you all. Thank you, Anita. Many blessings.
Thank you. Thank you so much.